Ford and GM are in a tight spot with electrification. Instead of zipping off the lots, thousands of EVs are gathering dust at dealerships, putting a dent in both companies' wallets. They're hitting the brakes on planned investments to save some cash, leaving workers feeling the pinch with layoffs. The shockwave. Both Ford and GM are reeling from their inability to move EVs. We've got 7 reasons to uncover why dealerships are pumping the brakes on selling EVs. Dealers, the middlemen between manufacturers and buyers, have their fingers on the pulse of car trends. But when it comes to EVs, they're feeling the resistance. Manufacturers are pushing hard, but customers are hitting the brakes due to high prices and lackluster features. GM's doubling down, asking Buick dealers to shell out hundreds of thousands to get in on the EV action. The result? Dealerships are slamming the doors shut. Some are even opting to call it quits rather than sink cash into uncertain waters. Ford's no stranger to drama either. Their dealerships need a cool $1 million just to dip their toes into the EV pool. No wonder only half are biting. The verdict: dealerships aren't revving their engines for EVs just yet. Number 6. F-150 Lightning Production Stall. Ford was the first of the big 3 to introduce an all-electric iteration of its full-size pickup. The all-electric F-150 Lightning was introduced a while ago, and after pretty impressive initial demand, things went backward in the last year. First, there was a fire incident about a year ago, which forced the Blue Oval Company to stop production for about 5 weeks and issue a recall, which made many customers reconsider their orders. Many of them figured out that it still isn't the right time for electrification, and that it's better to stick with good old internal combustion models for some time. On the other hand, driven by the initial demand, Ford decided to increase its production significantly in 2023 and spent 6 weeks on that. Production capacity increased 3 times to 150,000 units per year. Now that interest has cooled down, the company had no other option but to cut down production plans by half. So instead of rolling out 3,200 F-150 Lightnings every week, the production will be reduced to 1,600 units. In other words, only 1 shift will work this year, which means that around 1,400 workers will be affected by this decision. How it's left to be seen. Number 5. Ford EV owners turning to gas and hybrid cars. Many open-minded Americans decided to participate in this early EV transformation, but a large percentage of them quickly realized that EVs aren't in line with their way of life. Charging concerns, high cost of ownership, and range anxiety are just some of these factors, and Ford customers perfectly fit into this trend. According to the latest data, nearly 46% of those who bought the Mustang Mach-E purchased another internal combustion car. Many of them decided to purchase another SUV, gas, or hybrid-powered, suggesting that the vehicle type and its capabilities still play a way more important role than the power source. On the other hand, just around 37% went for another EV. Many went for hybrids, realizing that gradual steps toward full electrification are way more convenient. A classic self-charging hybrid such as the Toyota Prius made a notable sales increase in the last year, with a total share of 8.3% of the market in 2023 compared to 5.5% in 2022. For comparison, EVs also grew in the last year, but the total market share went from 5.2% to 6.9%, which clearly indicates that classic hybrids are outpacing EVs. Notably, the reasons are obvious, as hybrids are significantly cheaper and way more convenient, as there's no such thing as charging or range anxiety. Number 4. Unexpected loss. Ford and GM are losing money on EVs. We knew that long ago, but last year brought another unexpected cost for both companies, which will definitely have a negative impact on future EV investments for both companies. Of course, we're talking about the UAW strike, which lasted for a month and a half between September 15th and October 30th. For the first time in the union's history, workers from all 3 companies, Ford, GM, and Stellantis, went together on strike. Nearly 50,000 workers stopped working, demanding the end of a tiered employment system that underpays new employees as well as overtime and retirement benefits that were lost as a result of the economic crisis back in 2008. As management showed no interest in workers' requests at first, the strike took way more time than expected, costing $21 million a day in GM's case and an astonishing $44 million a day in Ford's case. According to some estimations, GM lost around $800 million, while Ford's loss is estimated around $1.3 billion. Add to this the $4.5 billion that Ford has lost on EVs in 2023. And it doesn't surprise that the Blue Oval Company has decided to postpone $12 billion EV investments planned for this year, which we'll talk about in a moment. Number 3. Reliability issues. People don't want to buy EVs for several reasons, and reliability is one of them. Although EVs are supposed to be more reliable than gas cars due to their simpler design, reality is different. According to Consumer Reports' latest survey, EVs cause 80% more problems than gas cars, and it looks like Ford and GM are the front runners in this aspect. GM has been facing a lot of reliability issues lately. Years ago, Chevy already issued a massive recall for the Bolt, which included nearly 140,000 vehicles. More recently, we saw massive problems with GM's new battery technology, particularly in models like the Cadillac Lyriq and Chevy Blazer, which turned out to be extremely problematic, whether it's about charging and battery performance or infotainment system and software integration. In general, eventually, Chevy was forced to stop production due to numerous complaints and negative reviews. Ford's EVs have been as problematic. The F-150 lightning fire incident and recall, problematic over-the-air software updates, and questionable towing and hauling performance, just some of the things that come to mind. Things weren't much better in the Mustang Mach-E case either, considering the overheating battery contactor issue and a recall that affected more than 35,000 units. Number 2. Investment issues. Ford and GM are pushing out investment. Car makers still haven't figured out how to make a profit on EVs. Everyone knows that. Just take Ford as an example. Despite the notable increase in sales in 2023, Ford has lost tons of money for different reasons. Of course, the recent discounts play their role, but the main reason lies in the company's inability to optimize production. As a result, the company lost $1.1 billion in the second quarter of last year and $1.3 billion in the third quarter, while the total EV loss for 2023 is around $4.5 billion. For that reason, it doesn't surprise that management has decided to pull a handbrake and postpone some of the planned investments. According to officials, the Blue Oval Company will postpone $12 billion of EV investments planned for this year in order to save capital. The same thing is happening at GM, as the company has recently announced that production of the new electric drive unit has been delayed and won't start before the last quarter of the year. Moreover, production of GM's most important EVs for the future, the all-electric Silverado and Sierra pickups, have been delayed and won't start before the last quarter of 2025. Number 1. GM does not want to sell cheap EVs. The main reason why car makers can't sell enough EVs is that they're expensive and don't give much in return in terms of cost performance and overall convenience. Logically, most automakers are figuring out ways of cutting production costs and making them more affordable, except for GM. The company's CEO, Mary Barra, recently stated that they don't plan to sell affordable EVs anymore. The production of the popular Bolt has been reduced significantly despite record-high sales. Simply put, GM wants to focus on more luxurious cars because they bring more profit. Apparently, every car maker wants to be luxurious these days, but we're pretty sure that won't work because, except for Cadillac, we look at GM brands as mainstream cars, ones that should be affordable, great value for money, as some would say. Most people don't need fancy screens and advanced driving systems. All they want is a relatively affordable EV with solid autonomy and low running costs. Until GM management realizes that, the company will only sink deeper and deeper. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.